All right, what's good, everybody? It's Big Marv, and welcome back to another episode of Big Marv's Network. Today, joining us, I got my boy Derek Ross. He is an entrepreneur that is helping others find their voice and embrace themselves, and basically spread their message, their skill sets, and talents to the world. What's up, Derek? How you doing tonight, brother?
What's up? What's up? I'm doing good. How you feeling?
Pretty good, pretty good.
That's what's
So,
up.
just to let the crowd know, tonight this is an unfiltered, unscripted, raw interview. Just get to
Hey,
know you, let
yeah.
everybody know who Derek is and why they should be following you.
Hey, I'm down. I'm down. I think those are always the best conversations. So,
Oh yeah, we just gotta let that energy flow. You know what I'm saying,
right.
babe?
Exactly. Cool,
So
cool. I'm down.
I'm gonna give you the floor for a minute. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your journey, where you come from, and why you do what you do.
Cool. So, my name is Derek Ross. I just turned 36, so I'm excited about that. Another year to kind of get better and to continue further down this journey. But I grew up in a small town, small country town in Virginia in the mountains, so where everybody was like your cousin for the most
Oh
part.
shit.
So I grew up with my grandmother. My mom ended up moving to North Carolina, and then she was working. So I grew up, old school style with my grandma, my cousins, playing hide and go seek and freeze tag and things of that nature. But I was a little different. Like I always wanted to be the leader. I always wanted to be the captain of the team. I always wanted to, I had to win. When we used to race down to the flagpole, to the light pole and back, I used to always had to win. I used to always have to orchestrate everything, and so I remember, I think I got in trouble because I was sitting on the steps and I was sulking about something. I had to be like 8 or 9. And I remember because I couldn't wait to be an adult. I was like, when I turned 18,
Isn't that
you
every
know,
kid though?
every
Like
kid, right?
you're like, you better enjoy it now, motherfucker, because let me
Right.
tell you.
And I could only contend that I got in trouble and I didn't want to follow the direction. So I'm like, you know what? When I get older, I can make my own rules.
Yeah.
But I remember, and I was sitting there thinking, I was like, I wonder what I would be like. And I'm like, what child thinks about what they're gonna be like when they're 25 or whatever? But I was like, ooh, I wonder. And then fast forward, I'm 25, and I'm like, geez, I wish I was a kid again. But so moved to North Carolina. We moved a lot, so I always had to make new friends. I moved a lot in the beginning, so I was always forced to to reintroduce myself and to always find people to fit in with. And that led me to sports. That led me to getting involved with organizations. I remember in the second grade, I think this was the first time that I got a taste of creativity. I was running for class treasurer. And so I had to give a speech in front of the school. And I remember having this whole campaign signs that was like, vote for Ross, he's the boss, or something like that. So all this creativity stuff, when I trace it back, it started right around then, campaigns. And, I'm like, okay, speaking and all that good stuff. And so when I got to college, I was on a track scholarship. That was my goal when I was in high school. I wanted to get a scholarship to college because I didn't want my parents to pay for school. And I ended up getting an academic one and a track scholarship, but track was my life. Man, that was my love. And I got hurt my senior year. Oh, I was fast. I was fast. I was short and I was fast. People always ask me, like, what did you use to run? I ran the hurdles. And they're like, but you're short,
How
right?
the fuck did you get over that?
Yeah. Man, I could only say that I just had strong legs. When I got to college, like those things went up to 40, I think it's 44 inches. So it's like almost to my chest. Like in high school and, when I ran in the summertime, they were a little shorter so I could manage. But when I got to college, it took a little bit
You're
more
like, these
effort.
are no joke.
Man, I could probably run under them, right? But yeah, but my senior year, I got injured. And I had to make a decision at that point. Like, do I spend this time trying to, get healed? And it's like senior year, halfway through my last semester of college, or do I transition and shift my focus to what I'm gonna do after college? And so it was a tough decision because I was so worried about what everybody else was going to think. My parents always came to my track meets, my coaches, my teammates, and I remember going to see my coach and telling him like, look, I'm going to shift my focus to, what I'm gonna do in my career after college. And, everybody was supportive. Everybody was cool. And So that kind of, shifted. I was a marketing major. And so at that time I was like, look, I'm trying to get a job. I don't want to do sales. I want to be in marketing. I want to be creative. And so that's what, was like the transition. And I had done a couple of internships. So I knew what I wanted. I knew what kind of job I wanted to do. And, the power of relationships, my mom, her good friend, or her good girlfriend, her boyfriend at the time worked for an agency. He was transitioning. He said, I heard you're looking for a marketing job. Are you interested in this contract position? And it was actually, it wasn't a full-time job. It was a contract position doing a mobile marketing tour. So like literally driving around and grassroots at events. So really at the bottom of the marketing level. And I was like, yo, I'm interested, because it gave me a company car, which is one thing I said I wanted. I had a company credit card. And then I was traveling and going to events. I was like, well, who wouldn't?
That sounds like a damn life. You know what I'm saying?
Man, like who wouldn't? I'm driving this big F-150 that's decked out in design and all this other stuff. And so I was like, yeah. So I ended up doing that, and I worked my way up. So this was at a time in 2005 when PR agencies were now bringing in marketing, because they were trying to be competitive. So they had to bring in another marketing aspect just to be a full service agency. And so I fit the bill. I was that hidden secret that a lot of companies didn't have access to yet. And so they brought me in, and I had to learn PR. And that was the interesting thing. I knew marketing, but I had to learn PR on the fly. And so I moved up in the company. I got promoted, every year for 4 years straight. Ended up running one of the largest accounts at that agency, only to find out that I was getting paid $35,000 less than what I should have been getting paid.
I tell you, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about my backstory. So as you know, I worked at Microsoft before, right? Well, before I worked at Microsoft, it was always my dream. Even when I went to college, I was like, I'm going to get a big time job at Microsoft. And so what did I have to do to work in you did your grassroots position because you're like, I need to get into marketing. I'm going to go ahead and eat this dirt and fucking put in the work and move up.
Yeah.
So I did the same thing. So I would take tech support jobs, right? And then move up to the lead tech support guy, tier 3 tech, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I kept doing until I finally got my first Microsoft gig. And at the time I was making I want to say $13 an hour. Doing tier 3 tech support. And so when I got awarded my Microsoft contract, it was $27.50 an hour. I accepted. I didn't even negotiate. I was just like, oh, yeah. I'm going from 13 to 27, baby. What's up?
Shoot, right.
Then I get to Microsoft and find out that I'm making at least $10 an hour less than everybody else. Because everybody else was already in the ring, said oh, you ain't never negotiated a contract before, blah, blah. And I was like, bro, I'm just happy I double it.
I'm just
salary,
goal, right?
So I mean, you make those sacrifices because you see that passion. You're like, I want to do it. I'm just gonna put in the work and make it happen, and money will come later, right?
Yeah.
So
and that's one of the things I learned. It was like I was drinking the Kool-Aid. I was drinking it because what they would do is they would give the promotion with a new title. Titles were sexy back then. So it would be the title and a little 5% raise. And you're like, okay, cool, I'm getting this. But, not knowing what to look for, what to ask for, I was just happy just to still have a job and, still traveling and doing all this other stuff. But my eyes were opened at that point.
Well, now let's rewind a little bit. Now you were saying that, you were pretty good athletic and you got an athletic scholarship and you were riding that wave for a little bit, probably made your parents proud, people around you proud. And like you were saying, you were worried about what people thought of you before you made your transition. And I feel like a lot of people out there struggle with that today, right? They're trying to go to college, impress their parents, impress their grandparents, and impress whoever, but maybe they're pursuing a college degree or doing something that they don't really want to do, but because they got so many people around them looking up to them and expecting something of them, they're scared to make that jump or that leap. So can you share with us, what kind of where your mindset was, what what gave you that final push to make that leap and transition into what you really want to do, even though, like, from an outsider's point of view, it's like you got a scholarship. Why don't you just do that and continue that? What made you, like, where were you kind of going through when you made that decision and say, I'm going to take the leap and do this marketing thing?
It was probably like, because my senior year in high school, I was so focused on getting that scholarship, and I got injured again. I got injured my senior year in high school as well, and right when I was about to get recruited, and so I was like, oh shoot, like I'm not gonna get the scholarship. Like this is what I've been working for all these years, and I just had to put in the work. Like I went to rehab, I did all this other stuff, came back in enough time, got the scholarship. So in my head, I already knew that there were certain barriers against me. I'm already short. So the likelihood of me having a professional career after college in track, I already kind of had that reality that that's not my future.
Okay.
I had already accepted that. Like my biggest goal was like, I just wanted a scholarship to college. I checked that off. I'm good. And so I think with that in mind, I already knew what the end game was with track.
Okay.
It was my senior year. So, but it was one of those things that was so much a part of the fabric of who I was in my life that it was still hard to let go of it, because here it is, year round for like almost like 13 years was track, my life, summer, giving up my summers, going to see my grandma, running and training. It was like everything I lived and breathed track and field. And so during that time, it was kind of like, okay, Derek, track is not going to be your life, and it was scary as fuck. I will say it was scary because it was the first time I had a taste of adulthood, because now I had to make a decision for myself. It wasn't up to my parents. It was a life decision. And, I had to really get clear. Like I spent a lot of time, like I prayed, all the other stuff, but I was like, you know what do I like doing? What do I enjoy doing? I know with track, I enjoy meeting people. I enjoy working with people. I enjoy the camaraderie, the teamwork, and all the other stuff. So I was like, I need to find something that can still give me that same type of feeling, even though it's not in track. And I remember telling myself I used to want to be a coach. I was like, I'm going to be a coach. And I always tell people you got to be careful what you say, because you never know how it's going to show up. I thought track coach, but now I ended up being a business coach, right? And so, but that's how I ended up with marketing. Like I was like, I'm gonna do international business because I like to travel. And I was like, nah, that's not it. I got into the details of it, and I was like, nah, I didn't want to do that. Then I was like, okay, I'm gonna do communications because I like, talking to people, communicating. I ran into a comm theory professor, didn't like that class. I dropped communications. Then I was like, well, let me see something else. And so marketing was kind of like the mix of everything that I found that was the closest thing to what I was looking for. Plus I had to declare a major. So I just kind of jumped into marketing, and it worked out. But again, it was me knowing that at the end of the day, and I don't know where this thought came from. It had to been, from my grandmother or somebody, but I used to always say, like, I'm not going to live for other people's decision, because when they're dead and gone, I'm stuck living with the decisions that I made for them.
Oh yeah.
And so I used to always have that in the back of my head. And so, at the end of the day, I was like, my coach, if he leaves and go to another school. Like if I stay here and not do what I need to do for me, and then don't put myself in a position to succeed, then that's only going to look bad for me. And so I just had to make the decision and be okay with whatever the outcome was going to be. So that was that.
So how did your family and friends react after you switched your focus?
It was funny because what I thought was totally opposite of what happened. Like I thought they were going to be like disappointed or trying to get me to stay in it. And they were just like, hey, it's your life. We support you, whatever you do. And I think a lot of times we think the worst,
right,
and on one extreme or the other. And it's always somewhere in the middle. Consistently, it's always somewhere in the middle. It's either a hell of a lot of support, or it wasn't as bad as you thought it was going to be. And that's what I learned every time I made a decision, or every time I stepped out there, it wasn't as bad as I was making it in my head to be. So
if you had to give a piece of advice to someone that is maybe in college trying to make that decision and they're grinding through it, but it's for somebody else's dream, not their own, what would you tell them?
I would tell them, get quiet and find out, who you are and really what you want. like college was the first step for me to really understand what was my motivation. Like I was now out of high school where you had classes every day and people always telling you what to do. Now I had to be responsible in college, and, you know, I had classes, I had things, but it was really the first taste of really making adult decisions, what classes I wanted to take, what major I wanted, what I wanted. And you had to really think on your own. So I think one thing I always tell, you know, any student that I talk to is that, you know, find out what you want. Find out, you know, who you are. What are you passionate about? What do you love? What makes you want to wake up in the morning? You know, what, and as you, and then do experiences, right? Get an internship, because the more experiences you have, the more clear that vision becomes for you. You find out what you don't like, right? That's just as important as knowing what you do like. And it's always going to be ever evolving. You know, what you say in college and undergrad is not going to be the final thing. So many people I know that did one thing in undergrad and they're doing something totally different right now. So be okay knowing that it's not, whatever decisions you make now, it's not going to be permanent. It's going to be fluidity with life. It's always going to evolve as you experience more things. You're going to get more clarity. You're going to switch and pivot here and there, but just be open, be flexible, be fair to yourself. You know, have grace on yourself. Like, you're not going to get it all right. It's not going to be perfect, but stay in line with the core of who you are. You know, what are the things you respect? You know, what things don't you like, right? Like, if you don't like people, you know, being disrespected, then, you know, you're going to stay away from people that disrespect people, right? Surrounding yourself with the right people, because all that stuff is really going to play a role in guiding you and getting you, because I guarantee what you want to do and that purpose is aligned with the core of who you are.
Absolutely. You know, let's fast forward time a little bit. You left doing PR and marketing, and you started to establish yourself as the brand Oracle. Tell us a little bit about that and where the brand Oracle came from.
Brand Oracle came from anytime I have like strategy sessions with my clients, or we're building out a campaign. I always, you know, I listen. It comes from listening. I always listen, and I can always hear and see something that the client doesn't see, because I can look from a different perspective, right? My client is always stuck in the weeds of it, in the doing, but I can take a step back and look from a different perspective and see the gaps. And so I'll say, okay, well, let's do this. And they're like, what, how did you know that? Like, oh my God, how did you know that's what I needed to do? And it just clicked for them, right? And so, and a lot of times I tell people, everything you already need is already inside of you. They just can't see it, right? It's like, we can see everybody else but ourselves unless we go and look into the mirror. So for me, I'm able to see the client in a way that they can't see themselves. And so that gives me a different advantage, plus my experience, to be able to, you know, fill in the gaps where they can't fill it in. And so so that's where I got the name from. Like, I've had people even in my coaching being like, yo, how did you know to say that? Like, that's exactly what I was feeling. I just didn't have the words. So it's crazy. And so it just kind of stuck. And once I heard it enough, I was like, okay, that's it. That's
Brand Oracle, baby. Let's run it.
Let's roll with it. And it's interesting because my tagline is building brands from the inside out. And that came first. That tagline came when I first started like working on the business plan for my business. Because I was like, you know, there's so many, you know, brands out here that don't take the time to really build the brand from the core. You know, they build it for the sales, they build it for, you know, externally, but they don't start from an internal perspective. And then when things F up, then they want to go in and look on the inside and try to fix it. And then it's like, well, you should have started there first.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I think what a lot of that might be too is, like, if you take a look at social media today, like influencer marketing is like blowing up. Like, that's huge right now.
Yeah.
Personal branding, and like people are just buying things just because they know who you are. It might not be for any other reason. And so they see all these cats, you know, showing off their Lambos and their mansions and all this other stuff. So they just dive balls in and they spend all the money that they make on all those shiny toys without building a foundation and a structure and a core to sustain that business long term. So I'm seeing that. I see that a lot with people that I work with.
Yeah.
Because they come in and they're like, I'm trying to build this business, but I have no idea what to do. And they have all these great ideas. They have a huge following and everything else. And like, you just scratch your head because you're like, how did you even sustain it this long?
Yeah, at this point, it's like, what? Like, yeah, it just shows, it shows how easy it is to create something when you believe it enough, even if it doesn't connect. Like if you're passionate enough about something, even if it doesn't align, you can make other people believe it with the right messaging, the right bells and whistles, especially with social media, because it's such a disconnect from the person, from personal, right? And so it's easy to be anything on social media, right? And I think that's where it's I come from a space where I had to do grassroots and guerrilla marketing and be out there and talking to the customers and hearing their complaints and why we moved the tournament and this and that, and then being able to go from that type of marketing and then come up in the age of social media and to see how it's grown and shifted and changed. It gives me a unique perspective on, one, how to merge the two, the offline and the online strategy, but then also how do we cut through all of, the fakeness that can be, present via social media nowadays, where you really don't have that interaction. You're seeing a picture or you may see a video, but again, that person could have shot that video 3, 4, 5, 6 times until they got it to the point where they liked it or got a haircut first, you know what I'm saying? And everybody's thinking that everything is cool, but at the end of the day, they don't believe the shit that they're putting out there. They're just doing it because they're trying to make a dime.
Yeah,
So
right. They faking it till they making it.
Yeah. So it's another barrier that we have to navigate now, because that building that know, like, and trust factor with people is real now, and people, I would contend are looking for the bullshit. They're like, people are tuning in more so now with okay, is that BS? And that is even harder to connect. And so that's why I think, a lot of people now are taking, well, not a lot of people. I know I'm pushing a lot of my clients to take things offline, back to the traditional way, because that's really where you start to make those authentic connections, and stronger connections. And then you can, weave the two. So.
Yeah. Like, I love grassroots marketing,
Mm-hmm.
I love taking the flyers out there and
Yeah,
giving it to different people, because it gives you the opportunity to like talk to them about what you're promoting and like connect on a different level. But I mix it with new technology, because I'll put URL on that flyer that goes to a funnel that gets them on my list.
There you go, boom. Yeah, and like I said, and that's what it is. It's weaving the two so that you're everywhere, and you can make it easy and simple, from them, even on the ground, to connect digitally back to what you have and what you're offering. So yeah, it's been good to kind of see the evolution of that, and then be creative enough to try to bring it back to the basics as well.
So what would you say your personal long-term vision is?
My long-term vision. That's a good one.
The brand Oracle. What's the brand Oracle going to be in 5 years?
In 5 years, oh wow! In 5 years, I definitely I plan to have a book on the New York Times bestseller. Definitely have a story to tell, and so working on identifying and laying that out. I hope to start writing by the middle to the end of the year, but definitely that's on my list. I definitely want to be a college professor. I believe one of my biggest things is to educate and to inspire and to empower the next generation. So I definitely want to take everything that I've learned and be able to, bring it back to the students, and then, do it in a cool way. Like have you seen How to Get Away with Murder, right? You watch the show, but she's an attorney, but what she does is she teaches, but then what she does is she can hire her students through her class as interns. And so that's kind of what I want to do. I want to have my agency where I'm servicing professional athletes, where I have my high profile clients, and I'm creating this space and atmosphere, but I'm giving my students the opportunity to gain the real world experience that they need, because, a lot of them it's so competitive. So I want to be able to be that funnel to be able to bring students in and teach them and help them have that, so they are ready to really go out and be competitive in the marketplace while they're still in school. So
Okay.
So those are two of the big goals. And of course, I'm gonna be, multi-million dollar. I'm gonna have, I'm working on my podcast is out now, so I have that. But I definitely want to be on speaking tours and just really speaking internationally, motivating people, mindset, talking business strategy, and just kind of being my own personal influencer. I've spent a lot of time behind the computer. So my goal now is to step out from behind the computer of serving, my clients, and then, leverage everything that I have to help serve others on a bigger platform and reach more people. So.
You say you hope to bring to this world uh, the mindset shift that so many people struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
Let's touch on that a little bit. What does that mean to you?
What that means to me is that we get in our own way. Like we create the barriers to, the future that we want. Is that we can have all the pieces and it's right there, but because we don't think we're good enough, or we think that, we're not ready right now, or we think that we have to be doing it like someone else, all those beliefs or those thoughts or those ideas prevent us from stepping into the reality of we're the shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like other people see us, but it's like, it's sometimes it's that barrier, that belief that we adopted at some point in time when we were young, when we heard somebody say something like, money don't grow on trees. And although, parents and stuff joke about that, it subconsciously leaves a mark. And I've been, even on myself, working through some of those beliefs that, you have to work hard for your money. There's even a song, I work hard for my money. You're like, making money should not be hard. Right.
Right.
If you understand how to make money and your passion and the thing, so it's unlearning a lot of things that generations before have been passing down. And then it's like, your beliefs, turn into your thoughts. They create feelings motivate an action. And most of the time it's inaction, sitting, scrolling on social media, being sad, going to get another cup of coffee. But we're not doing the action that we need to do for the thing that we say we want. And then it produces the results. And then we look at the results and it's all in alignment with that belief of I'm not good enough. I think I'm not good enough. I feel frustrated because I'm not good enough. I don't do the things because people are not going to open up my email because my email is not going to be good enough. Then I just sit here and just scroll and looking at other people and be like, oh, I'm not good enough to be them. I don't do the action. And then it just goes in a loop. And it all starts with that belief. And, and you can, I guarantee you, you probably see it in some of your clients too, when you're trying to break them through. It's like, what is going on, dude? Like, yeah. what's up? And then you can kind of see, and it just flows. It starts as a thought and a feeling, then an action. They don't do the work that you tell them to do. And then they get mad at the results. So it's like, dude, it starts with your belief. Once you break that, then it's like truly, it's unlimited potential and opportunity, but it's really getting people to see the untrueness of their thinking.
Yeah, that's what, what helps me, get people to break through is I just say, fuck what people think. It'll never be perfect. It's you. Yeah. That's what's so perfect about it. It'll never be perfect, but it's perfect because it's you.
Yeah.
Your raw, unfiltered energy. Just give it out to the world. It might not be great the first time, but just keep doing it, keep putting it out there, refine your energy, evolve as a person. And it's just amazing to see people finally take that leap and take action and maybe start promoting themselves or making live videos because they're getting confident. And you see when they first start they're nervous and they're kind of down.
Yeah.
They're you can tell they're not all there, but then 15 videos later they're full of energy and
boom.
There it is. There's a person, I knew you had it in you, what I'm saying? But it's just getting them to take that first leap to say, I am good enough, fuck what people think.
Yeah. And I always tell people even for myself, I have to remind myself, and sometimes we get so caught up in the moment of the doing of the next, of the next achievement that we forget everything that we've already accomplished, all the badass shit that we've done.
And people don't celebrate the small goals, the small wins.
They don't.
They're I'm not going to celebrate till I hit 1 million. Dude,
yeah.
6 figures alone is a feat.
Yeah. It's yo.
What's the statistics? 80% of something businesses fail in the first years.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then I have to force myself because, to sit down sometimes and just not move and make a list of things that I've accomplished, small, whatever, just so that I can see. And then the list be long as heck. And I'd be like, oh, dang, I did do that. And I forget things that I've done. I forget stuff. And I'm like, yo, I did do that deal. Like, yo, I'm bad as fuck. Like, what am I?
Bad motherfucker. Like,
You know what I'm saying? Like, and it snaps me back, and that's things that I have to do to remind myself, like, look, you ain't new to this. You ain't new to this. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but it's a constant work because things trigger us, right? Things trigger us, and but it's to catch yourself when you're triggered and identifying what the trigger is, so that you know how to be like, yo, that's a trigger. Let me back up. Let me go through. Let me remind myself, because I always tell people, like, once you see the the unreality, right? Once you see the untrueness of your thinking, I just made that word up. But once you see that your thinking is untrue, you can't unsee it. Like, once you see something, you can't unsee it. So once you see, like, yo, that's not my story. My story is like, I'm dope as well. Like, I can do this. Like, and it's like, it doesn't go away at that point. It's always there. And so that's the biggest thing that I try to do with people, like, help them see themselves for the reality and the truth of what they really are and how dope they really are, so that they can take that and continue to move forward.
Yeah, I remember, like, I mean, I guess I was lucky because my mom always encouraged me, like,
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Alabama, like, small town,
Mm-hmm.
and, like, there everybody tells you, like, just go to school, go to college, get a good job, settle down,
Mm-hmm.
buy a house next to your aunt, where the kids grow up, and,
Yeah.
like, people don't leave the community, you know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
But my mom would always tell me, like, no, you're special. You're gonna do
Mm-hmm.
great things out there. You're gonna leave this place. You're gonna change the world.
Mm-hmm.
And she would always tell me, you're gonna be rich one day.
Yeah.
And my mom had 9 kids, like,
Uh-huh.
and so, like, but she would always, like, because I'd always have a hard time because I was an introvert,
Mm-hmm.
but I was such, like, a little computer nerd. Like, I built my first computer when I was 10 years old.
Oh, that's dope.
Right. So, like, it was just me in my room with my computers and my electronics. Like, I was
Uh-huh.
always taking things apart. Like, I fixed my own Nintendos and stuff like that.
Oh, I had about 3 of those. I should have brought them to you. Like, Big Mom, fix this.
Like, we'd get, because, like, we were poor, right? So, like, my mom could never buy me a Nintendo. So, like, I would
Mm-hmm.
find one in the trash and fix it. And then I would find
Dope.
cartridges in the trash and clean them. And, like, it was fun. I was just
Uh-huh.
an introverted kid, but my mom would always tell me, like, just study hard. Like, it might be difficult for you, but I know you're strong-willed. You'll make it.
Mm-hmm.
And then now look at me today. Like, I would have never thought that I would go from, like, that introverted
Uh-huh.
computer to Big Marv. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um,
Doing big things, killing the game.
yeah. But it's just like you said. You got to find your passion and chase your passion, and, like,
Mm-hmm.
just make those choices that are best for you. Because,
Yeah.
like, and even me, like, I went to college for graphic design. Like, that's what I did, but I went to graphic design now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I switched, and I love teaching people. Like, that's what I discovered, like, through my path. Because
Mm-hmm.
like I told you, I would always work hard. I started at tech support, but I would
Mm-hmm.
always work up because I wanted to be a lead. I wanted to lead the team. I didn't want to just be one of the techs. You know what I'm
I know,
saying?
right?
I wanted to lead the team. I wanted to tell guys how to do it. I wanted to figure out how to make it more efficient. And
Mm-hmm.
and I did that at Microsoft too. Like, just every time I got on the team, I got promoted within 6 months
Mm-hmm. That's dope.
to the
Yeah.
lead. Because then I'm leading the guys and teaching them the new processes, and then
Mm-hmm.
I went to Billie Jean's conference, and that kind of sealed the deal for me because he told me I was dope. Like, I didn't believe in myself until that
Uh-huh.
time when a mentor that I looked up to was like, "You're dope." He's like, "You're the real deal. Like, you worked at Microsoft, you have all these achievements." Like,
Mm-hmm.
and for me, like, I never celebrated, like you said, the small wins.
Yeah.
I never celebrated, like, Microsoft. I never celebrated becoming lead on those teams and getting promoted quickly.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, I'm like, it's not good enough until I hit the million.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
when Billie Jean helped me flip the script, and that was my breakthrough moment, was sitting in that room with him, and he's like, dude, you got the credentials. You're real. You're the real deal. That's the thing about you is like you didn't just go take a course and now you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
teach people how to build something based on some course that you read. No, you've lived and breathed it for the last
Yeah.
15 years. So
Yeah.
I think it really is just a mind shift
Mm-hmm.
thing like that holds a lot of people back because that's what it was for me. That was the thing holding me back was I and that's why I never quit Microsoft because it was my security blanket. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like I don't have to be good enough
Yeah.
because I always have Microsoft to bail me out. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't until I had that mind shift change that I said, "Fuck it," I quit Microsoft,
Right.
jumped off the bridge.
Yeah,
You know
it's
what I'm saying?
really, yeah, and that's what happened. Like when I left the agency, like that was my security blanket, and I'm like, D, you're doing everything. You're doing everything. The only thing that you're not doing is the actual design. And so at that point, I was like, look, if I had a designer, I could run the agency by myself, right? That's when I started really sitting back and looking. I'm like, I'm doing everything. Like I've been trained. I have it. Like, I just need the opportunity. And a lot of times that's what it boiled down for me. I know it was like, it was like, if I get the opportunity, I'm going for it. But, um, but what forced me into that was taking the leap of, like you said, just betting on myself. And sometimes you have to, I was prepared. I didn't just jump out there and didn't have like I didn't have savings and things like that. I tell people all the time, like, still have a plan, right? but I saved up enough to sustain me for what I needed over the course of period. And of course, life happens and that didn't sustain me for as long as I needed to. But what it did was it built up my resilience. Because even though I didn't see it at the time that, when I left, I was finishing up grad school. I left the company because things were getting crazy. I had saved up money. I had money saved up from student loan, that they were able to give me. And I was like, yeah, I thought I needed more experience. So I was going to go get a 6-figure job with a big corporate company to be like, yeah, I'm going to get some more experience here. And I never landed the job. Like, here I have this MBA and I have all this experience and I could not land a job. Like, I have till this day, I have a folder. It has 25 different versions of my resume. And I did not get hired. 25 different versions because I had friends in New York and I was using their address. I had friends in Atlanta. I mean, I was doing all the tricks. I was doing everything. I had headhunters, jobs not available anymore. We hired somebody internally and it killed my spirit. When I tell you it killed my spirit, the only job I could get was a part-time job at the gym, working about $10 an hour. Because I needed money and even I was still running out of money. And I remember as soon as my faith was really the thing that was getting hit. And I was just like, yo, I remember at my mom's house, I fell on my knees and I was praying and I was like, I can't do it. Like clearly something I'm doing is wrong. So let me just release it. God, you take over, what do I need to do? And he was just like, start your own business. And I was like, yeah, right. That's not it. Although I had the mindset, I thought about that. I didn't think it was the time. And it was like, no, so this same job you're trying to get with your experience and all these accolades, why can't you take that and start your own business? So that's really when the shift happened. As soon as I was like, okay, let me appreciate this $10 job that I have because I was going in late. Didn't care about it. I started appreciating the small things. And soon, I lie to you not, as soon as I started going to work on time at the gym and started just, embracing that as something that I had, I got a call 2 weeks later from a guy that I used to work with for a national magazine. He was like, yo, D, we have this marketing position open for a contract position. Are you available? Yeah, I'm available. So that was like the first taste of my first contract. I won that, ended up going to work for Radio 1 because, know, like, and trust. Like I had built up this reputation as being creative, being reliable, being loyal, being smart, being all this other stuff through all the people that I had met through the agency job. And it was paying off in the time that I needed. So when opportunities were coming up, people were like, oh, yo, let me reach out to Derek. Derek, here's the opportunity. I'm about to leave. I think this position would be good for you. Now, I didn't want to do sales at Radio 1, but it was another piece that I needed. So I went in there and she was like, well, really, it's like having your own business because you're managing your own roster of clients. I didn't see that before, but it's like you're managing your own list of clients that you're creating campaigns for, ideas for to help serve them. So I was like, yo, that's real. So it gave me some additional, working time to do that. And I had revenue. Like I landed that job. A lot of you not. I landed that job. I didn't have any more money in my bank account. I got the job in enough time to pay my bills for the next month.
Damn.
It was just like, and so what happened, the job sustained me for a year because I had a non-compete with the agency. The client wanted to hire me full time, but I had non-compete. So this new job, I was able to have a non-compete. What they call it a guarantee when you have a sales job. Like they guarantee a certain number. They guarantee you a check for X number of months before you have to go to commission base. So I was able to do that for a year. They usually only give you 6 months. Well, when that year was up, the client came back and was like, "Look, we're not looking to hire nobody. We're looking for an agency. Are you still interested?" I had been working on my business that whole time. I submitted that RFP, went to present it against I think 4 of the agency, and they called me that next day and was like, "You won the bid." I left Radio One. That was 2014, and that's what the opportunity I needed to start my company. Nice. And but it was all because of all the stuff that I had done wasn't lost. It was just accumulating until the right time. And if I didn't go down
network,
yeah,
building your reputation, like even now, because I'm partnered with an agency right now, and I even have a non-compete with him. Like I can't serve any of the clients that the agency serves, right? Like if I left the agency, I couldn't go bid on contracts for any clients if the agency. But even so, I still like treat them well, because I got my Big Marv reputation on the line.
Yeah.
Even though they hired this agency and like it's not my agency, it's still my reputation. It's like they could easily go look me up online and whatnot. And now I'm networking. So like you were saying, you got this opportunity because of your network. Right? So that's probably one of the best things I can tell people to do is always go network with people, like get the right kind of people in your inner circle, because you never know what kind of opportunities are going to come knocking.
Yeah, and always show up as your best self. Forget how they treat you. As long as you keep your integrity, you always work hard, you do your part. They can't say anything bad about you. That's not going to stick, because if people really know you, they know you, right? They know how hard you work. They know your reputation. They know that you always deliver the goods. So, I always say stay true to that. And I've had situations where I've had like VPs try to throw me under the bus, but I had receipts. You know what I'm saying? When I worked at the agency, I had VPs trying to throw me under the bus, and I was like, nah, bro. So I was able to check them professionally, but it was always like you teach people how to treat you. And even if people decide to treat you, you still hold yourself, that core value of who you are, and it'll pay off in dividends. And like, even for me, like now I still get I get referrals now for clients because of the work people know that I used to do and how I showed up. And it's like, yo, D, I want to introduce you. She needs some marketing. The only person I can think of is you. Boom. And so I'm still living off that reputation and what I did. So.
Your network is your net worth. Isn't that the same?
Yeah. Yes. Your network is your net worth. It's so true.
Right. So speaking of networking, I know you're in our Wavemakers group, so you read about my trip to Vegas. So, how I got that was just because my copywriting coach, I showed up. Like sometimes you win in life just by showing up.
Yeah.
Like he has this mastermind group, and I showed up to his live trainings. I took the course. I paid attention, and now he invited me to go help coach at a intensive mastermind, like a private mastermind in Las Vegas.
That's dope.
And it's actually not put on by him. It's put on by this big marketing group, AWOL Marketing. Okay. And they're an 8-figure marketing agency.
Oh wow, that's
dope. They hold this 3-day intensive mastermind where people pay a lot of money to go in there, and they basically build a Facebook ad, a funnel, email follow-ups, and the whole deal, so they can go live and turn traffic to it in 3 days.
Oh wow, that's good.
And so I was supposed to go just to help all my copywriting coaches day, because how it is like they do a presentation, breakout group, and then I'll be leading the breakout group, teaching these helping these students walk through the different parts of building whatever they were teaching during the presentation. And so he connected me with the AWOL marketing group, and then we got to talking, and then they looked at my Big Marv profile, and they were like, "Wow, we didn't realize you had such a skill set. Thought we were going to just do copy. Are you interested in doing the full 3 days?" So they invited me to do a 3-day comp.
Yeah.
Comping my hotels, my food, everything.
Yeah. Oh shit, that's dope.
My flight. So it's going to be fun, but it's all because I just showed up networking with the right people, and the opportunity presented itself, so I made myself available.
Yep.
And
you were ready. You know,
you gotta be ready to jump on the opportunities and show up. Like, don't be that person that commits to something and then you don't show up.
Yeah, that's the worst thing. Like, I would rather you not even commit than commit and not show up. Like,
because there's one thing on this planet you can never get back, and that's time.
Yeah.
Like, time is your most valuable resource, so you should be protecting that
at all times.
Like, I don't care if you have $1 trillion in the bank, you can't get your time back.
Yep, can't buy more.
Until Doctor Strange.
Right.
Real person. We can't do shit about time.
Right. Okay. Or that movie with Justin Timberlake and the girl Dakota Fanning, where it was like it was like in the future, but they like time was their sort.
I'm trying to think of what that is.
Right?
I've seen that movie.
But it's good. It's good. But it really makes you think about the value of time. And time was the currency. You bought everything with time.
Because like his mother dies, right?
Yeah, right when they were. Yep, she ran out of time,
and he fucking goes in there and he like gets all the way up to the elite where they don't run out of time, where the movie is just called In Time.
In Time, yeah. But it gave you it really like gave a dope perspective on the value of time. Like if time was currency,
like time is currency. Like you have to buy your food, you pay your rent and everything.
Yep, by time.
And then they showed like a true like bird's eye view into a capitalist society.
Yeah.
Right, because you got your people at the bottom that don't own businesses; they just work. So
for time.
Like you're putting in 40, 50 hours a week, you're living paycheck to paycheck, just trying to get by, survive. And then you got the people that have like high paying jobs. And then you got the people that own businesses. Then you got the people that own real estate that run businesses.
Right. So. And they got these millions of hours, millions of days. And
they're like, I'll give you 1,000 years.
Yeah, right. Like
you would turn my mustache up you in 1,000 years.
Right. While I sip my teeth, it's like, yo. But yeah, that was a really, really good movie. I definitely recommend checking it out. It'll shift the perspective even more with time. So yeah, it was good.
All right, so tell us how we can reach you. If anybody wants to connect with you, what's your social network, your website?
If anybody wants to connect with me, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, my website is Derek D. Ross, DerekDRoss.com, Derek D. Ross on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Derek D. Ross on LinkedIn. Derek D. Ross, you see me there.
See, you guys, I was a perfect example of branding. Like, if y'all look me up, it's Marv at Night on everything, and that's for a reason. Like, that way it does not change. That's just how it is.
Does not change.
So, makes it super easy to reach out to you. Well, Derek, it was awesome having you on the show. Is there any last piece of advice you want to give our viewers or entrepreneurs out here?
I would say one thing that I had to learn even this current year is that, nothing is wasted. Everything that you've learned, every experience that you've been through, every win, every loss becomes lessons. Everything that you have learned and experienced, it's all for a purpose, it's all for a reason. And it goes into your future. It goes into your present moment now. Like, so be present now because now is all you have. The future is going to get here when it gets here. The future will then become the present at some point, but focus on now. Focus on what you can do now to make impact in your life. And knowing that, you know, everything you need is already inside of you. Just like you said, Big Marv, like when Billie Jean was like, yo, like, you're amazing. It was already inside of you. He just saw the seed and just added a little bit of Billie Jean-ness on it. And you was just like, oh, and it just shifted. So everybody out there listening, you have it in you, you know, and it might take, you know, someone seeing what you can't see to flip the switch, or you might have an experience that will flip the switch, but just trust in your dopeness, your greatness.
Oh,
and
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I can't tell people enough, like, just take imperfect action. Accept nothing will ever be perfect. Tweak it as you go. Like, people lie, but numbers don't. Right? So you will see if you're dope.
Yeah.
You release shit and people start watching it or not. You know?
Right.
But that doesn't mean don't release it. Like, if you got 2 viewers, yay, you got 2 viewers. Just keep doing the content. Just keep chasing the passion. Take action now. I don't care if it's releasing a website, app, if you're trying to build a sculpture, painting, whatever you do, that is your greatness, like your skill set. Just fucking take action and do it. Like,
everybody had to start from ground zero at some point.
One mediocre published book is still better than 500 unpublished books on your hard drive.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm with it. Yeah.
I would rather publish 500 books and have 4 of them be bestsellers.
Right, you know? And you still have the author tag. What now? What?
I'm a prolific author, motherfucker.
Right, you know.
Because then when I get those 4 bestsellers, I'm gonna have people fucking trying to get some of those first copies of like the shitty books.
Right.
Because I only printed 20 of those. You know what I'm saying? And I printed them with my printer at home and riveted them together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like.
And then it takes you up because now you have all that experience of publishing and putting out 4 books that someone who's never done it, you have, you know, that learned knowledge as well to add into it. So it's like, you'd be like, you published 4 books? Yep, I sure did. Let me pay me and I'll tell you how I did it.
Yeah, like now you can start your own career.
Right.
Authors and be like, yo, I published 500 books, bro. I got 4 of them on the bestsellers list. Let me show you how I did it.
Boom.
And then they're researching what you did. They're like, oh, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna cross that off the list. I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, see, I just shortcutted your success. A lot of people try to say like, you know, don't invest in mentors, don't invest in coaches and things like that because they're like, well, why would you do that? Like, yeah, you can do this all on your own. You can use Google. You can figure it out on your own. I'm like, yeah, but just like I figured it out on my own, but it took me months and months, and it took me $15,000 in different courses and trying to figure things out. So basically, by hiring a professional or getting with a mentor, it shortcuts your success. It gives you that time back because you can take a look at what they did and avoid those mistakes. Yeah, because a lot of times it's the same common mistakes that cause people to fail.
Yep, I'm a big component of that. Get your mentor.
Get my my Bob Ross.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next Friday for Big Marv's Network. One love.
One love. Peace.